Welcome back to the On the Drift podcast, the authorities on backing slow horses, but enthusiasts of spinning yarns. I'm here with my good friend Declan. How are you?
Always good, mate. Always good. Geez, I reckon there's a few slow horses we'll find this weekend, but there might be a couple of fast ones.
I think we'll find a couple of very fast ones. If you see us looking over our right shoulder, we are watching the Test cricket. Let's make a prediction, all right? When we're about to knock off this podcast,
yep.
Like how many down will Australia's currently batting?
First innings for Australia.
So they're currently 1 for 24.
Yep.
I reckon they'll be 3 for 60.
3 for 60. I'm going to say they'll be 4 for 50. I'm going to take a more dour approach. So I'm off the motherfuckers at the moment, to be honest. So, yeah, 4 for 50.
Well said. You know what I reckon? Humans in general, we need more dog DNA, and I'll explain why. My pal, my best friend, Leo, mate, he is always like every afternoon like clockwork. He is up and about and ready for a play, right? Mm-hmm. And a run around and a walk in the morning. Humans don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, there's always something in the back of your mind going like, well, I could go for a run, but there's always that like mental block.
I call it the little bitch. The little bitch in your mind. You're 100% right. Like I went for a run this morning and yeah, when I woke up to my alarm, my initial thought was maybe I could just do it later on tonight or maybe I'll just go for a longer one tomorrow. That's the little bitch. Yeah. And you need to say to the little bitch, just get up and do it and just take it head on. Mm-hmm. I always take the easy option where possible. 100% I do. You know, and most of the time life can be pretty breezy, but sometimes you just need to, tell the little bitch to stop being a little bitch and just attack it. But you're dead right. Dogs just have this innate sense of, like, they'll 100% be up for playing, but if they're done, they're done. Yeah. But they'll still try.
Yeah. Like if there's life in that tennis ball, Leo's chasing it.
Yeah. He's slaughtered plenty of tennis ball.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I might just change my life mantra, you know what I mean? Like, what would Leo do?
What would Leo do?
He'd go on that walk. He'd go for that run. He'd shift that tin.
Yeah, 100% Leo would. So it's a good mantra to take on in life. And that's what we like to see in our horses too. Like good horses, they've got that will to just get out there and go. Alligator Blood has been showing plenty of that ticker and that dog, I reckon.
100%. Profondo,
great win on the weekend.
Much.
Exactly, you beat me to it. Profondo, he's got that little bitch in him, mate. He doesn't want to be there. He's not genuine anymore, Profondo. He needs a date with a paddock, or he needs a date with new trainers who might be able to change the tune on him. I don't know.
He has two things penciled into his diary right now. He has a session with a scalpel where they're going to chop off his mangoes, which I highly doubt, or they're just going to pencil him into the Holiday Inn and he's going to get to fucking.
He's spelling and then he's banging. Profondo, I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he'll run again this prep?
Maybe one more.
Just to see how he goes. Yeah, he's just not interested. He trialled well, but he's not interested in being there.
Yeah, that love-hate relationship with trials, as everyone probably is aware. You know, he trialled the house down. But on further inspection, I don't think he really beat much in that trial.
Yeah. Again, you know, I'll use trials for my arguments where relevant and when they support my argument. And then I'll say trials don't mean anything when it's relevant and they don't support my argument. Mm-hmm. But yeah, look, God knows what's going to happen with him. Look, if someone said to me, hey, look, you haven't really been trying that hard at work, how about you retire and work as a gigolo? I'd be, you know.
Hard to knock back.
Yeah. hey, you have presented quite a compelling argument.
Well, how many times do, say, a schnitzel who's been doing the damn thing for years, like close to a decade, like how many servings would he be giving out in breeding season?
Oh, he's serving a lot of schnitzels.
Like, is he serving like
a couple of hundred?
Yeah, but like 3 mares a day.
Yeah, because how long does a season go for?
I'm just
a couple of months.
No idea.
I think it's 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Probably something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of schnitzels, mate. Couple sides, some mash, some greens. Sometimes if you want it with some slaw, chippies.
I'm not a slaw guy.
I like slaw, but with my schnitzel, I just want like your basic garden salad with a good vinaigrette and some chippies. That makes me pretty hungry, actually.
Yeah, well, you've left something crucial off there. What's your condiment of choice?
For a schnitzel, it's probably just like a pepper gravy, I'd say, or just a normal gravy. What about you? Mushroom?
Yeah, gravy or mushroom?
Yeah. No, yeah. Schnitzel. Swear to God. I reckon even in like 20 years' time where, eventually schnitzel will no longer be with us, but, I wouldn't pray for that to happen to anyone. Like there'll be so many major sires who probably just sons of schnitzel. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have his fingerprints all over Australian racing for 100 years.
Mm. Here's a question I wanted to ask you. I heard during the week Wayne Hawkes talking about David Hayes.
Yeah.
And how he was a really good trainer of fillies, but he couldn't apparently, before my time really. Apparently, I haven't done the research. I'm taking his word for it. Apparently, he couldn't train colts. And I was actually thinking, I'm like, okay, of like all the really good 2-year-olds that my Eustace have had, it's all the fillies. Like Coolangatta, Enthar as well, Steel
Enthar.
City. I can't remember any colts that they've had off the top of the dome.
No, you make a point. Yeah. Question without notice. You'd have to go back and have a look at it. But yeah, it's
interesting.
It is very interesting. And if you look at Myron Eustace as well, actually, and I noticed this the other day when the Lightning was run. Geez, they're good at training sprinting mares as well. Like, do they have any sprinting colts or geldings at the moment?
Off the top of the dome, no. So like Marabi, Coolangatta, Snap Dancer,
Bella Nipotina. So yeah, it's strange. Maybe it's just their methods just lead themselves to be more successful in that way. And then I don't know. Then they've got a few stayers who are geldings and colts and no staying females on the top of my head. So Smoke and Roman, Gold Trip, Hitotsu. He's obviously retired.
Steinem's, that middle distance.
Yeah, true.
So, and they're freaks of that.
Yeah, freaks of that. The Derby types, like explosive jacks and your detonator jacks. That's a really interesting point you raise, mate.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about it further. It's like, okay, like just this is gut feel, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Waterhouse doesn't matter. They train both.
Mm-hmm.
Like think of the ones they have at the moment. Red Resistance, the Instructor, and then Platinum Jubilee. They've got both.
Piero's one of my favourites.
Yep. And then the Snowdens, I feel like they're way more down like the cult route.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so I just thought that was a little interesting
Mick
thing.
Price is good with colts as well. No, you're dead right. It might even be just a pattern where, you might have bought a horse. You might have bought a horse and send it to a stable where they've got that success already with, say, a colt or with a filly. Or alternatively, my users might be like, well, we actually don't really – our model isn't actually buying yearling colts. It's buying yearling fillies because they're easier to train, more residual value, they can race for longer, so on and so forth. Who knows?
And you see the same silks going around for the colts each year. So it's like – and it's the same trainer. Yeah. So it's like the same ownership. They know what they're going to get. So I just thought that was a little interesting thing. What are your thoughts about the lunacy of having 2 3-year-old mile features on the same day?
Oh, it's funny. I was listening to RSN during the week, and it's only something that I've actually started recently doing a fair bit of. And they, they interview Gator pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And Mickey Blue Eyes asked him the question. It's like, now we won't go into the detail about your thoughts of 2 guineas being on the same day. And Gator had a bit of a chuckle and he said, well, it's good that I don't do the best bets anymore because on a Wednesday night with all the dual acceptors across the Aussie Guineas and the Randwick Guineas, it's just an absolute nightmare. And how can you put out your tip when you don't know who's going to be racing where? I think we've got a pretty good idea this year, right? But it's just...
He makes the point.
I don't understand it. It is the classic example of what we were talking about the other week of measuring dicks and pissing contests, because surely they both know that it's to the detriment of 3-year-old racing.
I can tell you now, the trainers and owners would love it because you have a diluted field, but if you have a colt or a filly that wins it, they have a better chance of winning it because the fields are, half strength.
100%.
So for their breeding potential, that's why Jacquinot's going here. It wasn't on the agenda.
No, it wasn't. But imagine that, though. Exactly to your point. Imagine a race with Aft Cabin, Jacquinot, Elliptical, Aussie Panko, it'd be a much better spectacle for the punter, which is the lifeblood of the industry.
Yes.
We're just punters, mate. Trying our best.
Yep.
What's in it for us?
I know, mate. I know. Let's talk about them. Let's start with Melbourne. They only have the one.
Yep.
It is the Australian Guineas over the 1,600 metres, Group 1 for the 3-year-olds. The first of 2 on the day. Well, Jacquinot has to be the starting point, right?
Yeah, well, to your point, this wasn't originally on the agenda for Jacquinot. Do you think their thoughts are, well, he's got the Group 1 against his own sex in the Golden Rose. He's now got the Group 1 weight for age against the older horses. Why not have a throw at the stumps? Or do they genuinely want to see if he can stretch out to the mile and maybe aim him at a couple more races before the end of the year?
I think it is just maximising his value at stud. But at the same time, and this stable can do it better than anyone, they're foaming at the mouth again. But this time it's coming from Michael Kent, who's probably more conservative, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely more conservative.
This is his quote that you can see on RaceNet right now. As long as he's got room and can build through his gears like he does, I think he'll be too good. I think he's the dominant colt of his generation, and I think he'll prove that. It's pretty strong.
Strong words. And gee whiz, you a lot easier to say something like that after the race. No, I love it. The more statements like that in the game, the better, I think. Just 100%. Creates a bit more of a story, a bit more interest. Is he the one to beat in this race? I think so.
Well, yeah,
100%. So I guess I'll have to side with young Michael Kent Jr. For me, it's not a case of does the mile suit Jacquinot. He's never run at the mile before, so I'm not too concerned about that because it's against his own age. My thing, if I'm reading through this race, is who beats him.
I have 2, maybe 3 that could.
Exactly. I could make an argument for 2, maybe 3. And that's not like how I'm doing form, as you know, and you're similar, is why you're trying to poke holes in this theory. It's like you've got a strong theory, back your instincts, back your gut. So to that end, Jacquinot is clear on top selection for me. I've been a fan of him since I backed him in the Blue Diamond. And I think he's suited to a mile. Concern is you think there's going to be enough pace for like the likes of him, your ellipticals, your amenables to swoop.
And the legatos.
Yeah. Do you think she'll sit about midfield or off midfield?
No, mate.
She'll far back?
She'll be last. That I'm certain of because you can have a look at any one of her replays.
Yeah.
She gets so far back. She's good. She's a very good filly, and she takes an age to wind up. So Flemington will suit her. We'll get back to her in a sec, but field is 16, so if big fields can generate pace, as you would probably know, I see number 6, the Fortune Teller, Elkington Road, Lindemann, if he's here from Sydney, he's one of the dual acceptors. I think he will be because Osipenko is the far better chance in Sydney for Waller. So if I'm thinking about Chris Waller, right? He wants to win both of these. So I think he'll be sending Lindemann here. So he will go forward as well and inject some speed. And Maximilius will be up there too. But a lot of them are off-pace types. So I think they will... I think if Lindemann's here, he'll be the clear leader. Jacquinot, I think he has to get back from that draw. What do you think?
I don't think he'll be too far back. I think he was ridden closer than what he typically would be in the last two starts. It is a tricky draw, 100%. But for me, I can see D Lane having a little bit more intent on him and maybe trying to track like a Lindemann across the field and sit in midfield, maybe forward to midfield with some cover. But my concern is because it is the 1,600 metres and it's his first go at it, are they thinking we don't want to blow too much steam to get there maybe? But no, look, the way I read the race was he'll sit about midfield and hopefully find some cover, but that's obviously with my Jacquinot tinted lenses on. So, not an ideal barrier, but I'd much rather him be coming from the outside, finding some cover than drawing 1 to, 4 maybe in a bigger field and getting cluttered in and having to weave his way through. Which I think your Legatos and maybe a couple others like your Amenables might need to do. Maybe they'll be tracking up and finding a few backsides. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how I've sort of been playing the race in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about Legato then. Watched a few of her replays. She's a smart filly.
Yeah.
No idea what she's beating. The only other horse that I can see that is, pretty decent from some different form references was in her last run, Prowess. I think she is the favourite for the Vinery in Sydney. So, and she was held up during that race. I think what didn't suit her in that run was going through the runners. Like, of all the wins that I saw, she was the widest run and just going straight down the middle of the track. She'll probably get that on the weekend. And what they have also done is if there isn't speed in a race, they usually just put her out 3 or 4 wide and start her run nice and early.
Yeah.
So I think you will get a run for your money. I want to risk her just because of that pattern.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't want to back too many back markers in the same race, mate. If we're thinking Jacquinot might be there. So, no, agreed. Amenable, Elliptical, a couple others in the market. Are you looking at them?
Elliptical is my on top selection. Jacquinot, I concede he is in my betting strategy as a saver. But Elliptical, I loved the first up run. I don't think anything that finished behind him will beat him home in this race. So if Jacquinot's probably the A1 form, I think that's the next best. He doesn't need to get back like he did. They went back because of the draw. So if you look at his form profile, in the Champions Stakes, he was forward to midfield, 5th in the running at the 400. In the Spring Champions Stakes, he was 2nd at the 400, 3rd at the 800. In the Caulfield Guineas, he was forward to midfield. He can sit forward to midfield from barrier 2. That's where he'll have the gun run, I think. I think he could go around like one horse.
Yeah.
And
got the right jockey on.
Blake in the saddle.
Blakey!
Blake knows how good he is.
Blake knows how good Blake is.
And, he is proven at the distance. Like, he can run out a really strong 2,000 metres, so I have no issues about the mile here.
No.
If Jacquinot doesn't get the mile, this guy will. I think he's the clear bet in the race at $6.50. So I'm having $80 to win on Elliptical, and then I'm having a $20 Quinella with him and Jacquinot.
Yeah. I'm just going to chuck $100 on Jacquinot. Like, if I'm trying to get him beat, I'm looking at horses like Elliptical, I'm looking at horses like Amenable and Legato. Attrition, maybe. But
He was good.
yeah. But no, I think he wins this, and I think he is better than these. If anything, maybe he's better at a mile than he is over 1,400 metres. We don't know that yet. I don't know that. But no, yeah, $100 and Jack, for me.
We'll find out.
We sure will.
Let's go to the Randwick Guineas then.
16, wait, is that on the same day?
1,600 metres, Group 1 for 3-year-olds. Now, so dual acceptors are number 9, Lindemann. Kieran McAvoy is booked, but I don't know. If I'm reading the tea leaves and making predictions, which is like somewhat what we do on here, surely he runs in Melbourne. It just makes sense. Takes like one of the competitors out for Osipenko, or maybe it is the what do you call him? The pacemaker or something. I don't know. I know nothing. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean.
And then attrition. So attrition, I think, could be, I don't know, potentially better suited here. I don't know. Smaller field, barrier 1. Could sit up near the pace. I'm not necessarily backing him. I'm just making the case. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, no. They want to run him in the Aussie Guineas. They've booked Jay Carl at some serious intent. Who usually rides attrition? I think it's Jared Fry. No, again, I said it after he lost the Hobartsville stakes last start. Hobartsville. Aft cabin. Yeah, jump off at your own peril for me. Draw is a little bit sticky, but J-Mac's back on. There's no TC riding. So, yeah, Osipenko, he's a smart horse. The mile suits. Definitely, he was good last start. Hot Nash gave him a hot ride. Funny that. Hot Nash doing his best. No, that's a complete forgive run for me. Aft Cabin's my clear on top selection. $100 is going on the schnozzer. I admit, yeah, Osipenko, Zoo Tiger, the likes of, they're pretty decent horses, but they got nothing on this guy. If I was going to have a spec on something at odds, is drawing the car park. Chris Waller hasn't had a stack of luck with draws this weekend. Manzois, the Derby winner. Like, is this short of his best? Yeah, but I think he's a pretty smart colt. So at $27 with Neds, if you're going to have a little spec, it'd be on Manzois for me.
Okay. I am trying to get the favourites beat this weekend, so be it.
Cheer who, baby?
I was looking at the draw. I think 10 is extremely sticky for Aft Cabin. You do have J-Muck on. It is a sensational point you make. But I don't know. I think everyone could agree that J-Mac's not riding, say, in his spring form. I think that's fair to say.
No.
Still probably well above average.
Doubt a champion at your own peril.
Yeah. I just really did not like how Aft Cabin finished off that last race. It was a torrid ride. I concede that. But I could potentially see something else happening very similar here, and they're stepping up another furlong. I think the biggest thing where I saw in this race shape is where Zoo Tiger drew, and that is inside of Aft Cabin. And you have Brenton Avdulla, who is a tenacious and aggressive rider, and he is going to hang Aft Cabin out to dry. I could see Aft Cabin being 3 wide, no cover, and I'm not 100% convinced he will run it out. The horse I am convinced will run it out is Hot Nash on Osipenko.
Hot Nash is hot.
I think he's going to get the gun run again here. Like, I can just see him just weaving through and Nash just riding him strong and true right through to the line. Too good. $100 on Osipenko to win.
Yeah, lovely. He's a winning chance, mate. But no, I'm not jumping off aft. No way.
Okay. Cantebury Stakes. This was pretty straightforward, I thought.
Yeah. Imperatriz. The Kiwi Raider is incredibly overrated generally. The term Kiwi Raider, not Imperatriz. So usually I give him a bit of a wide berth, to be honest. But not this girl. She's a smart mare, Imperatriz. The dominant sprinter miler in New Zealand has been for quite a while now. And gee whiz, she put a smart field to the sword last start.
Oh, yeah.
Over 1,400 metres. Like multiple Group 1 winners in that field, and she absolutely brained them. 1,300 metres is right in her wheelhouse. She's drawn well, and what I like about her, she's got that tactical speed. Doesn't need to lead, but she can.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon she'll sit just off them and just give them absolute windburn. She's so smart. Yeah, tipping a good day for J-Mac, so maybe this is going to be a swift and frightening return to form for J-Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's clear on topic for me. Artorius does create some interest, but he's not a betting proposition for me until I see him jump well. He jumped well in the trials, but again, trials, aren't they?
Yeah.
He's been globetrotting. Might have been the making of him, Artorius, but nah, I'm happy to take him on.
You know who we beat home in that trial? Profondo. So I think that form is absolutely disgusting.
Terrible form.
Happy to risk him. Zach Purton on board for Artorius, which is fascinating.
Huge.
But he hasn't won in 2 years. So, happy to let that go through to the metaphorical keeper. Imperatriz, I agree. Everything you said, nothing more to add. $90 to win. What I am doing is having a little spec in an exacta in this race with number 6 Old Flame.
My horse.
Into second. Mate, solid first up record. And has some of the very handy form around Hoping You're Hard in the Gong. Running third behind her. She franked that form on the weekend. You know, I think he's possibly over the odds at $46.
He was good for me on Derby Day, Old Flame. Fair enough. $46 with that is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Cascadian's coming back. You know, he'll always run on us, but he's a get-back horse. Converge, he was terrible in the spring, wasn't he? Very disappointing.
Yeah, have to see him do it again.
Definitely have to see him doing it. Golden Mile, some of the chatter around this horse I think is ridiculous. Look, I backed him in a Caulfield Guineas and he won, but if you ran that race 10 times, I don't think he'd win it more than half, maybe 2 or 3 times. He had the gun run. He just got home in what was a blanket finish. I do think he's more suited over this distance rather than a mile. Oh, look, could have egg on my face, but no, definitely happy to risk Golden Mile. Hot and Hash on. So hot.
He is very hot. But yeah, I think we're seeing it very similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not really, because we have different bets in the race. Let's go to Flemington and knock out these feature races. So race 1 is the Festival of Racing listed race, where, you know, the majority of them haven't raced before. I've said it before, Godolphin is the best 2 trainers of 2-year-olds in the country. You're getting $5 to find out with Messira. That's my starting point and my ending point.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to find out. In this race,
I'm
that's
not finding
giving it a wide berth. I'll watch the young little fellas go around.
Yeah. The only other feature, there is like some decent races on the card, but they're more of your handicap sort of races. But the Blamey is race 8, which I believe is a wildcard entry into the All-Star Mile.
It is.
Great race this. I really have a lot of time for this. How did you see it?
Yeah, I thought it was a good race too. For me, I'm a fan of a few horses in this race. I think it's between Gentleman Roy and Tuvalu though. For me, Gentleman Roy was unlucky not to win a CF4 stakes. He'll lead. Tuvalu will lead. I think Tuvalu might be the better horse, but he was a little bit disappointing first up. So, but he's, he'll bounce back. He's only missed the placings once in his career, Tuvalu.
Yeah.
He'll lob forward. We'll sit just off Gentleman Roy. Will he run him down? I'm not 100% sure he will.
I think he's my bet in the race, Tuvalu. I was disappointed because he landed up being my on-top selection in the Group 1, which was
stinky.
Not great. But you look in reflection, right? He was only 1.5 lengths off him in the finish. Suited to the mile better. Blink has come off. I think that was just a mistake.
That was a mistake, yeah.
So, happy to spec him. Yeah, Gentleman Roy's the Quinnell horse. There's probably going to be something left in the tank here for the All-Star Mile as well. Whereas Tuvalu, I think Lindsay Smith was saying, I think he thrives being, ridden out and having a pretty aggressive preparation. So, the ones at odds, pounding, connections are filthy that this horse isn't in the All-Star Mile. So I think he will go mighty close. And, you know where he's at. He spanked Sosi Bon last start. So
Sosi.
Which, he's a Group 3 winner on the rise, potentially. I think he goes into your quaddie.
This is Sosi Bon's 88th start. Things you love to see.
Unbelievable. Imagine him going around in another All-Star Mile. He would have been in there previously, surely. He would have.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah. All right. Randwick, we have a fair bit to get through here. Race 2, the Todman for the 2-year-old Colts and Geldings. Only field of 5, but it's a fascinating contest. Red Resistance is, I believe, the best 2-year-old that we have. So here's my on-top selection. Want to see him do it at the 1,200 metres. Cylinder is the obvious danger. And Cafe Millennium, I think he just needs further.
I think you nailed the race. Nothing to add.
Okay. Race 3, the Reisling. Learning to fly as your $1.70 favourite.
Yeah, and it's a case of do you dive in at that price?
No.
Probably not. Look, I think she's very hard to beat. So, and I think she's the best filly we have. So there's no way I'm jumping off. Maybe that's my little 2-legger with Neds. Red Resistance into Learning to Fly to get a little bit more. I'm trying to whack some juice out of that thing. We're looking for a juicer.
Yeah, I don't know. She has done nothing wrong, right?
Done absolutely nothing wrong.
But a 2-year-old filly with Kiramar Davy Eustace, Kundalini, I think she's pretty smart too. That form reference that everyone was foaming at the mouth about with Big Don Corleone.
Big Don is good.
She ran second to him in that race and challenged. And then, she came out and ran third in the Millennium. I think 1,200 metres is right in her wheelhouse. I think that will suit. J-Mac on $4.20 versus $1.70. That's how I want to play for sure. Race 4 is the Randwick City Stakes. This was impossible, I thought. I thought this was really, really tough.
Yeah. Race, it's number 1, Solcombe. He's ultimately going to be aimed at a Tancred, this prep. So, yeah, he's not fully wound up yet. I think the $3.40 with Neds to find out, maybe. But I don't think the stable is overly keen on him in this race. He pulled up lame after the last start, so that is a complete forgive. He might be brilliant enough to put these away, but because of that, I don't want to tip against him, but I also don't want to dive in really. So I might have a little play on Solcombe, but prefer to watch this race.
Yeah, I'm going to have a teeny tiny little bet on Athabaskan, if that is how you pronounce it. Had finished 8th of 8th last start in a benchmark 88. So you could say there's room for improvement.
Oh, definitely. There's room for improvement with those silks too.
Blinkers on first time. So apparently he just got too far back and just was never going to feature. Look at his last run and only run in Australia prior to that because he is a European, I believe. Mate, he was finishing, 1.5 lengths into 4th in the Rosehill Gold Cup. It's only just off He's a Shocker. He's a Shocker ran 3rd in the Champions Stakes on Champions Day at Flemington. So I actually think he's pretty handy. Getting a price to find out, $6.50.
True.
So happy to have a spec on him and 53 kegs. Tick, tick, tick.
Tick, tick, tick.
Okay, race 5 on the program is the Fireball listed. 3-year-old set weights penalties. Economics has been smashed here. He was $3 early today.
Been absolutely smashed. I was keen on him last start, but he got scratched at the gates for the second time in his fledgling career. He's got Annabelle's taken him to the trials. He's jumped out okay in the trials, but again, keep talking about trials. Sake, he's drawn sticky economics, but I think he probably is better than these. And $2.40 with Neds, I'd be happy to take just to find out. But that's if he even runs.
Yeah, he doesn't get scratched again. One at odds that you can spec in this race is number 1 Cannonball. First ride for Peter and Paul Snowden, but third 1.5 lengths to Giga Kick in the Danehill. Yeah, I think he's the missed horse here. I think he could be good enough to feature in your exotics. Economics, I think he should win the race, but Cannonball's the one I might have a little spec on. Race 6, the Challenge Stakes. This is interesting. You have the Everest winner in Giga Kick, the $2.60 favourite. You're backing him here.
I think so. You could argue that with a bit more luck, he'd win the champion sprint down the straight, and he'd have an unblemished record. I think the time off would have done him wonders. I think he just turned 3, maybe the week of the Everest, something ridiculous.
I think he was 2-year-old.
I think he was still, if he wasn't 3, very close to turning 3. So, that time off would have done him wonders. Giga Kick. There should be a stack of pace in this race, you'd think. With passive aggressive and Eduardo going pretty hard up front.
I don't think Eduardo will win another race.
You reckon he's done skis?
I think he's done.
Jason's pride and joy.
Yeah, he's been a fantastic horse, right? Obviously. But his trials are reminding me a lot of what Zaki's trials look like.
Just not interested.
Not interested. And he's an old man, mate.
He's old, Eduardo, and so is Zaki. So if he's done, he's done.
I was looking through the form that he was beating in these trials, right, or running around, and they are quite slow horses. So I think, and end of the last prep, he put in 3 or 4 bad runs in a row. It doesn't take much for these horses to tail off.
Not at all.
The other horse who was on the up at the end of last prep was Paul Ailey. That was probably one of the wins of the year in the Winterbottom. He was sensational.
Jehu.
Not one of mine, though. So risking him. The one I am going to back is Remark. He's a different horse since being gelded.
Sure is.
He can sit. He's tactical. He's had the run under his belt. Love Brenton Abdullah in the saddle. He can go forward, dictate the, sit off Eduardo, pop out when it's suitable to him, and then just, be tough to the line and hopefully too strong.
Yeah, this is a race of the weekend for me. This is Group 1 quality, this race, even though it's a Group 2, which is a testament to our sprinting ranks. Yeah, Paul Ailey's definitely 100%, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000,000%, 1,000,000,000,000% one of mine. I love Paul Ailey. He's a better horse over 1,200 metres. But, interested to see how he goes. Remark, he's definitely come back. We would prefer to watch him against go round in this sort of acid test type race. Passive-aggressive, fan of hers as well. But, Giga Kick, he can't be an Everest winner and regress so much. So, he's the one for me.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll wait, have I missed one? I think I have. But, race 9, the Aspiration Quality Group 3 for the fillies and mares. I thought Roots was the bet of the day here. I looked at all these others. I honestly just can't see anything.
Just can't see anything beating her,
There's a lot of horses that want way further than this.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. Hate the Silks, but the only other one I was looking at is Bellatrix Black, the number 7. She hasn't won in quite a while. But I think she had a decent spell. So she raced. That's right. Yeah, so she raced in New Zealand, and then she finished up last autumn, and that race earlier in February was her first start since the autumn last year. So had a fair bit of time off. I think that would have blown a few cobwebs out last start in the Triscay Stakes. I don't know. So yeah, she's at $11 with Neds. I think she's worth a bit of a spec. Bellatrix Black, and a great name.
Yeah,
great name.
Yeah, the Noble House of Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end on the Wenona Girl Quality Group 3 for the mares. I thought Sky Command was the bet in the race here. I think the market is, you're getting a price to find out, $3.70. But she beat the boys end of last prep. Tried well. It's about all I have to say. Not too keen on betting here.
Yeah, I'm Written Beauty and I are not friends, but I might be friends with her again this weekend. Not sure. I actually didn't mind the Johnny O'Shea thing, number 13, Jalay. $17 with Neds. She's got form around Asfura. She's got form around Sky Command. And she draws pretty well here, but I think she'll sort of find a little bit of trouble coming home. But at $17 with Neds, worth mentioning if you like back and roughies.
Yeah. Sky Command in the Trapeze Artist Silks.
Great silks.
Something you love to see,
Great silks.
Yeah. I have a bit of form for Gerald Ryan and is it Stephen?
Sterling
Alexia.
Close.
ST.
Yeah.
That's all she wrote, I reckon.
That is.
Aussies are 1 for 58. So I think I said 3 for 60 and you said
4 for 50.
I'll take that as a W. Mate, Rugby League is returning this weekend, which is
it is very exciting. I'm very keen for some Rugby League. It's fun. I don't really watch like Fox Sports, like Fox League TV shows, like NRL 360, but it's almost become like a meme in our workplace and also at home with the family. It's almost like the current affair of rugby league, and all they do is just talk over the top of each other, and create arguments out of nothing. It's so funny to watch. I watched that this week and the first episode of the year, and it's probably the last episode I'll watch, to be honest.
I used to be a massive AFL 360 fan back when we were living together in like 2015, just because I had nothing else to do. This podcast wasn't a thing yet.
True.
But yeah, now I'm just too busy, mate. I'm just doing form and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, horse racing's number one for me. But it is great to have rugby league back. Do you want to share your predictions on the podcast?
Sure. So I think Roosters will be premiers.
Yep.
The Bolters, I guess, will be the Titans making the 8.
Yeah.
The Drifters, lol, will be the Sharks. I reckon bottom half of the 8. And what was the other one? Wooden Spoon.
The Spoon, yeah. Give us the Spoon.
Well, Dolphins.
Okay.
Easy.
Premiers, I reckon the Roosters as well. A bit more maturity in their squad. Yeah, they'll go super well. And plus, I don't want to say Penrith because fuck them. I think the Bolters, those who are going to sort of rise up and have a better year than what they did last year. I'm going to say your Broncos. Because they just missed out on the 8. I think there'll be a bit more maturity there. There's a couple of whispers around the club that they don't like Kevy's coaching, but no, I think they'll go pretty well this year. The Bronx. I think the Sliders will be the Cowboys. Not necessarily missing the 8, but I don't see them finishing top 4. And the Spoon, I'm going to say the Knights. I looked at their squad on paper. I'm like, that's actually pretty handy, but I'm just going to say the Knights because
no Kalen, no Knights. That's about it.
That's all she wrote.
Hooroo.
Good luck, Drifters. Bye.